My people, what up, though? We back with another episode of All Black Men Need Therapy. My name is Chief,
And I'm Bo.
My name is Prentice Powell.
and here we go again,
What was
fellas.
it?
What's happening?
Erkener?
I can nerp.
See, y'all got it
Yo,
though. You got
turn your
it.
joint down a little bit.
Who, me?
Yeah, Bell, you got the
See,
you redlining, cuz.
the whole time earlier I was saying y'all couldn't hear me.
Yeah, now you loud. Yo, we back. We live. P. Holla at us, B. How you living? How you feeling? Well, how you been? How you living? How you feeling? Check in, B.
Man, this weekend was cool. We've been doing so much traveling and moving around that we all haven't been home as a family over the weekend for almost a month straight. And so this weekend was really cool, man. Sarai DoorDash like some easels and all this stuff. So Saturday night we had like an art night, art family night. So we
That's
had
dope.
easels, we painted like some Halloween themed stuff, we ate, everybody did it. It was really, really cool. And then yesterday on Sunday, man, excuse me, watched football all day. Everybody was home. We kicked it and chilled. It felt like a real it felt like back to basics, and it was cool for me because man, I've been trying so hard to stay relevant for so long, and I gave that up recently. Just like social media artist route. Like I just want to live
That's dope.
without being scared of losing quote unquote relevance or fading out from visibility. I just want to live, man, and trust that that's the right thing to do right now. So this weekend kind of helped me kind of like breathe into that. You know what I mean? I felt like I got closer to that with this weekend being really organic, just with the family again. And you know, it's kind of nerve wracking for me to really do it, to not just say it but actually do it, because you know you want to be successful and you want to ride momentum, but I think it's more important that I just live right now, man. So it really got me centered and feeling more confident about making that decision. Kids are good. Sarai is straight. I just got done teaching Pilates, so that's going well. um yeah, that's about it, man. Got a show in New
Okay.
York on Sunday, which I'm looking forward to because I'm getting back in theater, trying to get on Broadway and shit.
This
Uh,
Oh,
Sunday.
it's not a poetry show?
it's not. It's for this Tectonic Theater Gala who they do like ground up theater work and they get a lot of plays on Broadway. So it's a dope opportunity for me to kind of get in front of those
That's
writers and
what's up.
producers with this. And then I applied for, I don't know if I told y'all, I got a show in Toronto on the 9th, man, which I'm juiced about. I've never been there, but I had to apply for a passport again, and I had my passport since 20, what was that shit, 2015, when you know my son's mother lied and said I never raised my kids, so they snatched my passport.
Hey,
Yeah,
hey, yo, Prentice gonna give you the detail. Because
that shit is pertinent,
I
bro.
haven't had my passport since 2012, whatever. Would have been sufficient. I mean,
Yeah, no, that's
I
not
need to
good
help
enough,
you
nigga. I'm still
understand.
bitter. I'm still fucking bitter. So I'm waiting for that to come through. I got a little anxiety behind it, but everything's gonna be cool. So yeah, that's my check-in, man. I'm straight.
Yo, when you said you're just trying to live, all I could hear is the big pun line. I just lost 100 pounds. I'm trying to live. Like
Hey,
that's
man.
that's that's all I heard in my mind. I love that for you though, man, because it's like we talked about this so many times in terms of social media pulling the strings. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yes.
And I do understand the liberation that comes with that, but also the fear. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Because what will happen if you're not relevant, right?
Yep.
Like all these questions that go in your mind, like I get it. Like you may have peace, but that's all you know is relevance, right? You literally earn your living through relevance, you know?
Yeah.
Like I get it. And which again, I will say this until you do it. You probably should see somebody, right, to talk through that stuff, man. Because as I said, your problem has never been awareness. It's just about how to apply everything that you're feeling, into in a productive manner. So, but I appreciate that vulnerability, man. For me, man, I'm good, man. I feel like it's been a long time since. I was gone last week. That's why y'all recorded. Good episode too, by the way. Yeah, man, I'm good. Last week I was in Philly, for the Grace Hopper Convention Conference. Dope. Grace Hopper is the largest held conference in the country. It was 35,000 people there, man. It was wild. But
Damn.
yeah, it was crazy. It was my first technology conference too, which was dope. But anyway, I'm gonna write about it on LinkedIn tomorrow. I just been trying to catch up, just being out all week. Had a great time, man. Showed the team how to play spades. You know what I'm saying? That was fun. And you know, I got my partner. Now one person got it. So but anyway, that's good, man. I haven't been running because of my knee, but yesterday I ran 5 miles with my man Ray. Shout out to my man Ray.
Shout out to
Um,
Ray.
I drove 30 minutes to go run with that motherfucker, man. But I'm glad I did because that might have been one of the most peaceful runs I've had in a long time, man. I didn't even intend to run 5 miles. It just happened. But like the scenery was dope, man. The foliage, it's a fucking rainbow when I was running at 6:30 in the morning. So that was like real dope to see. Um,
Motherfucking rainbow, nigga. Shit
yeah,
beautiful
man.
than a motherfucker.
And I think I ran my best time. And I was stopping for him. You know what I'm saying? So I could have easily ran a much faster time. But I felt good, man. I felt good about that. I got some things going. I submitted my papers for my workshop for the New England Fatherhood Conference next year. Waiting to hear on that. I'm gonna slowly start telling my story. I posted yesterday or today actually. I wrote it yesterday and released it today. But slowly starts telling my fatherhood story, leading up to, like I said, anticipation of me, doing this more, speaking on fatherhood and fatherhood advocacy and fatherhood identity. So I'm looking forward to that. Work is busy, man. I got a lot of irons in the fire, all good stuff. Um, got a shit ton of travel coming up in November. I hit low up. I'm like, yeah, I think I'm good. I only got one more travel day. I was like, just kidding. You're gonna be traveling every week in November till Thanksgiving. So
Damn.
yeah, it's wild. It's wild. So, but yeah, that's it, man. Everybody's good, man. My man Chase, he's turning the corner, man. He's into this like loving phase, man. This dude be giving unsolicited kisses. We read this book, which I suggest for your boys too, P Chief. So called Fill Your Bucket. And it talks about how everybody has an invisible bucket. And when you fill somebody else's bucket, you fill your own bucket. So he's learning about that. You know what I'm saying? When I was gone for 4 days. Like he came back and I got in the car and he was like, Daddy, I missed you so much. And when we read the book, I'm like, buddy, that filled my bucket. I'm like, that's what that means. Like that filled my bucket, and he knew it when he said it. I said, you know how you fill my bucket? And he said it. And I was like, yeah. So yeah, man, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm no complaints, dude. No complaints.
That's what's up. That's definitely what's up. The book is called what? Fill Your Bucket.
Something like that. If you Google that, you'll find it. I'll
Yeah,
I'll text it to you in the morning.
yeah, I'll definitely get that from my shorties. I'm good, man. Winding down. It's been a busy couple of weeks, bro. Like just
Yeah.
it's been a really, really busy couple of weeks, and like I've been like exhausted almost. You know what I'm saying? It's been a lot of mental pressure on me, a lot of physical. I just been moving, man, with the kids' schedules and whatnot. I've been moving and shaking while still trying to, chase these goals or whatever. But I will say that tomorrow closes the period for voting for the Grammys. I made a plan. I stuck to my plan. I was consistent. I did the work behind the scenes. I put it all out, and it's in God's hands now. It's above me now. You know what I'm saying? So that's done. I been kind of stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit. So I took a shot and went to the mental wealth expo in New York the other day, held by our iHeartRadio, Charlemagne the God, and all them cats, and Tyrese and Dr. Jason Williams were there, whatnot. It was just cool to be in the room and just soak up some of the gems. And I mean, some of the similar stuff that we talk about, but I was there and I waited until the end to connect with all of them. Like I waited, everybody was gone. And I waited and I kept being like, nigga, just leave here, just walk out. And every time I walk to the elevator, I'm like, no, you came here for a reason. Wait. And then I walked back to them, but no, you came here for a reason. Wait. You know what I'm saying? So I waited and I chopped it up with Jason Wilson and Charlemagne or whatever, and got some information, told him about the podcast. I was trying to bring him a healing crew, but I couldn't, couldn't get it in time or whatever. But I was able to connect with him, man. Gave me his emails, like, yo, hit me up with about the stuff. We could talk about it. So I'm just trying to, trying to help the podcast get on the next level or whatever. But for me, it was really about like the patience of waiting and actually engaging in that conversation. Because normally I'm like, yeah, it's cool. Like, we've been around celebrities, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like people are people. They're still regular people, but it was just a lot for me to kind of be like, yo, what's up? Can we talk? Normally I'd be like, I mean, whatever. I saw him, it was cool, whatever. But we actually chopped it up for a minute and it was cool. So I think in that regard, I felt good about just kind of stepping out of my comfort zone. But overall, man, I feel good. The kids are happy and healthy. And after tomorrow, I can like just take a deep breath and just be like, you did the work, bro.
Yep.
You did all you
I
could
did
do.
And
it
that's it.
regardless.
Yeah, so
I did it
nomination,
regardless,
nomination,
but
and nomination or not, bro, you followed the plan. You did what you had to do, and you should be proud of yourself.
yep. And
That's the work, though, Chief.
yep.
Right? That is the
Mhm.
work, bro. Like the phrase that I learned in college is you always feel like you're working hard until you really start working hard.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the effort for you to go full time too, just so you know.
Mhm.
People don't understand, man. I'll let you go, Prentice, that being self employed, the first couple years is like a really shitty paying job. You know what I'm saying? It's a really shitty paying job because you're putting in a lot of effort for not the same return. But there's it's a sliding scale, right? Because that will shift. Where you'll get to a point where you're not putting as much effort and you're making more money than you ever have, right? But you got to build it.
Mhm.
That's what you're doing, bro. And what I love about what you're doing is it's visible.
Mhm.
Like everybody sees it.
Yep.
So that then begs the question: is what did they see before?
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. It's like we all have so much potential, and I feel like a lot of us, like you going back to the elevator, fear gets in the way of it. Fear. Like we can call it what we want. We can throw our machismo on it. It's fucking fear. Period. You scared. That's it. And a lot of us are scared of failing. Which hey, I get it. It's real, but you know, it's not something that should stop us, but it does. So I salute you, man. Like I see it. Somebody just texted me 20 minutes ago about Chief, like randomly. Like, do you think he got a shot? Like, I see what he's doing. Like, I want him to win so bad. Like, dude, you got. I think more than anything, your work. This is the quintessential definition. If you want somebody to help you push your car when you run out of gas, you start pushing it first. That's what you did right now.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I'm
you,
not.
bro.
I'm not sure if you gonna realize it. I know we was talking about an episode me and you did last week where I was talking about how you probably inspired them kids on the bike when they saw you just recording.
You seen the
Um,
shorty in the video?
yeah,
Did
You
you
watched
yeah,
the
I
release the
video?
whole
did.
joint? I didn't see the whole joint
I
yet.
seen it.
Yeah, I
I
put it up.
seen it.
It's out there now.
But
Oh, okay. I
there's
must have.
something real special, man, about still doing such grassroots ground level work, like waiting until everybody leaves while you're going for a Grammy. You know what I'm saying? People hear that phrase, and again, like just off the phrase of you contending for Grammy a nomination, um, that's something that not everybody can say, and most people cannot say. But to still have the level, and I think like that's the key to success, is having a level of humility that you don't leave regardless of how big your aspiration is, right? Like you're going for a Grammy right now, yet you're still outweighting everybody to have a conversation with some people who may be able to help the podcast or help you out. You know what I'm saying? Not looking at yourself as because you're achieving this high of a goal that you no longer have to do this little thing. You know what I mean? You're still willing to stand in front of the radio station and hand out your CD demo to the DJ upstairs, hoping that he plays that shit. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I think there's something that happens when you're able to look back and succeed and accomplish things and be like, damn, during this time, I was doing this, you know what I mean? Or during this time, I was doing this. There was times I had to DoorDash last year during the Grammy campaign. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going for a Grammy, and I got fucking DoorDash to make some extra bread. There's something extremely humbling about that. You know what I mean? But it also tells you a lot about your character too. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, regardless of what I achieve or what I'm going for, I'm still willing to do this to get it. You know what I mean? That's just gonna pay off. Watch, but like when they call your fucking name, you gonna think about that shit. You gonna be like, God damn, I'm the fucking shit.
This motherfucker gonna be crying uncontrollably, Prentice.
I don't think
Uncontrollably.
so, bro. I think I really, after seeing that little shorty in the projects that day, bro, like that's probably gonna be the first thing I think about. Like these kids, bro, because he was really like a Grammy. Like you grew up here. Like he was really like didn't believe something like that would be possible, bro. So and I think well, man, just where we from, like just being able to put on for the city, man, and put them on our back and do something. I think that's gonna be a huge thing for me.
Yeah, you gonna think about that while you cry, nigga.
Exactly.
And I
No,
think my
that
mom.
could be the reason you cry.
I think my mom be crying more than me. Anyway, let's get into it, fellas. We 16 minutes in.
That's all
So
right. We needed that.
today's conversation is we have to talk. I know a lot of my treatments are wrapped around communication or whatever, but
I never noticed that.
I saw a meme recently and it said, I hate when my girl texts me we have to talk. I texted back, yeah, we do. Now we both got anxiety. So
I saw that.
niggas get that. Niggas get that.
Doing that next time. And leave it at that.
So, and it was another one I saw too, and the dude's like, babe, what's wrong? And she's like, nothing. He's like, okay, then pretend, and then you're not my girlfriend anymore. We're just friends. Girl, what that nigga do? And that's it, to get her to open up and engage in conversation. But anyways, so the topic was we have to talk, but it was more so how do we prepare ourselves for difficult conversations?
No.
And I was thinking about this because I really wanted to have I kind of bit the bullet and didn't do it, but I was preparing myself to have a conversation with y'all. And then I realized,
Let's have it now, tough guy.
no, I'm over it now. So this was me.
No,
For real. This was me. Remember, this treatment was from a while ago, bro. Remember, I wrote it a while ago.
Oh, my bad. I misinterpreted what you said. My bad. I thought you meant for the conversation we had before this call.
No.
I thought that's what you were gearing up
No,
for.
no. So this was I was just, processing a lot of things. And then it was like, no, that's you, bro. That's a you problem. That's nothing. That's you. So I just kind of had to sit with myself for a little bit and be like, yo, like get it together. Like you sensitive and now you acting real soft. Like this is just me.
There was a period. I think it was just the pressure. You know what I'm saying? Like of everything that you was trying to get accomplished, everything that you were balancing, that you were very irritable, very temperamental too.
And that could have been it. So I had to check myself, and it wasn't really one of the things where like we had to talk, but I was like, I meant to think about like how do I prepare? Like how do you prepare yourself for a difficult conversation? And I'll start by saying, do you prepare yourself for a difficult conversation, or do you guys just walk right into it? Like, okay, this is how I'm feeling. We need to talk about this.
I'm gonna go first because I got a feeling that Prentice is going to take us down the path.
So should I let you guys go, or should I go into? So I did a Google search on just how to prepare for having difficult conversations, and it gave us 4 steps. They're kind of long, so I could read them, but like I'll hear what you say, and then we can read the 4 step that Google says.
So, well, first of all, man, I got to give my company a shout out because just recently, man, I realized I've been through so much leadership training. Like, I forget like how much stuff I've been through, but I've been through so much leadership training, and that's what we talk about. You know what I'm saying? Like, shout out to Stu, shout out to Toby, shout out to Chris Weiss and the Path podcast. Like, that's what they talk about, but the way you go about having difficult conversations is, for me, I won't say this is the overarching way to do it, but if I'm having a difficult conversation with somebody that's either important to me or that works for me or whatever the case, I'm going to lead with facts, right? And I'm going to help them understand, if it's a personal relationship, how what they did impacted me, right? but you did this, and this is how it impacted me, regardless of your intent. Because people will be like, "Well, I didn't mean it like that." Yeah, that's fine. But as a result of your actions, this is how it impacted me. So, because there's different levels of difficult conversations, right? I'm speaking from the perspective of a difficult conversation I have to have with an individual. You may be speaking, Chief, from a difficult conversation someone has to have with you. And I can give both answers if you want. But if I'm having a difficult conversation with someone, I'm going to list, and you guys were privy to it about an hour ago, right? I'm going to list facts, right? Here's what happened. Here's how it impacted me. Here's what I've done, right? And I need you to know that. Whether you agree with me or not, I need you to know how it impacted me. That's how I go about having that conversation. When somebody's having a difficult conversation with me, with something that I did to them, that I impacted them negatively, I listen first, and quite frankly, that's not even a conversation. When somebody's coming to you with feedback, you listen. You may respond, you may not, but it's not meant for you to respond. It's meant for you to understand and sit with whatever you did. Because I would like to believe that nobody does anything with malice, right? It's unintentional. And if it's unintentional, you may be the most defensive because you didn't mean to do it that way, or you didn't mean for it to come off that way. So you sit and you listen, and then you figure out what you can do better next time, right? It's not a time for you to get your shit off. Like, oh no, well, I did that because you did that. That's not that time. Now, if you want to revisit this at another date and give your rebuttals, you can do that, but not in that moment. In that moment, you just listen, and then you collect yourself, and then you can have another conversation about it. But you listen in that scenario.
Fair. P.
I've been having a lot of difficult conversations, man, the last 2 months. And the one thing that I've been doing differently that's made the world of difference that I never did before. I have the conversations before I have them with them. I have them with myself, and I go through my script. I have a script, and I never used to do that before because of my ego with public speaking. Because I've always been able to just get on stage and do whatever, or I've been able to just speak at the whim. Like it's like testing my speaking skills, and I realized that I was applying that to real life situations that have nothing to do with art. And I realized by having these conversations ahead of time, it reduced the nerves, but it gave me a script to go into. And y'all know I'm emotional. So somebody can say something. And by now, me having a script, like a practice run that I've already done, like I'll identify things that I want to say or I probably shouldn't say. When they say something that may trigger me emotional, I still have direction. I don't lose like my path in that conversation. Um, and that's really been helping, man. I had a conversation about a month and a half ago that was still something I'm dealing with. That was the hardest thing to call somebody, and it was a question I had to ask somebody, and I just was going crazy over that. But the conversation I had with my dad, and we still ain't talked about that. But um after we got done recording at the golf course, I walked outside and I started having a conversation. I was like, I'm gonna call my dad. And I started having a conversation. And as I was walking to the end of the golf course, I was crying and shit already. But I was having a conversation with myself, what I was gonna say if he picked up the phone. And when he picked up the phone, it startled me because I wasn't expecting him to pick up the phone, but I had a script. I had exactly what I had just rehearsed that I said to him. And it healed me. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know if the conversation would have been the same had I not given myself that script and prepped myself. But yeah, I talk in advance now for everything that I think is going to be challenging. I have a conversation with myself. I've done it with Sarai like 3 or 4 times already, just to be on point. I did it with my dad. I did it with somebody else. So that's really helping me. Just all right, what are you going to say? And actually saying that shit.
So it's more so about what you're going to say versus what you assume that they might say, respond to.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about what they're going to respond to because I know I'm emotional and I get emotionally charged. So I know conversations that are important to me, they can say something and it can throw me off. Somebody be like, fuck you, nigga. Now I'm like, well, fuck you, mother. But that's not my point for the conversation. If I give myself a script, I can handle a little easier the responses. And although I may feel a way and it may inspire a different response, I give myself a blueprint and a format to kind of follow because I gave myself the time to kind of rehearse this conversation on my end, you know?
Right. So I hear you. For me, I think fear, Bell mentioned fear ironically a moment ago, and I think my fear of not being understood oftentimes prevents me from engaging in difficult conversations.
Hmm.
My
That's very interesting. But keep going.
my lack of or my unwillingness to argue or to invest in tension is another reason I kind of avoid having difficult conversations. So I'm left to process a lot of this on my own. And I'll give
Mm.
you an example. So like earlier when we had a conversation, you can see it in my body language. Like I'm hearing it and granted, it was a general conversation. We were able to get through it. But in some cases it feels like tension. And there's been so much toxicity in my past, bro, that I really, really like I'm like charged by what I perceive to be tense moments, and I don't want to engage in them. So I kind of shut down. And
You're not telling us something we don't know.
right, but I'm trying to work on that, and I do listen. I listen very well, but my responses are lack thereof because I'm emotionally charged. So I'm not.
And
There's no more outbursts. P. The outbursts aren't there anymore. It's like I'm just gonna bite my tongue, and
it's
it's not.
I don't know.
specifically due to it,
Right. I say that's not my next line. That's not necessarily healthy.
and it's specifically due to you feeling like you're going to be misunderstood because I seen it. You did it like 3 or 4 times while we were talking, right? So you're telling me during those times it was because you felt like you were going to be misunderstood.
No, it like you. I'm super emotional.
Hmm.
My responses to those emotions are different. You're a little bit more liable to snap than I am. So I'm just gonna sit there and process it, and in order to keep the peace or to prevent the tension, I'm just gonna bite my tongue
And it's
because I
what you
because I
perceive
can
as
work.
like future
Huh?
tension.
No, so I can work through it on my own. I can process it on my own and get through it on my own. Like, okay, I'm good. So I'm not really worried about it anymore. You know what I'm saying? And
This is so interesting. Keep going. Sorry.
no, so I wanted to talk about this because I'm not afraid to have these difficult conversations, but I fear my response, or I fear my inability to engage in the conversation if it becomes tense. So I'm okay if I can tell you X, Y, and Z how I'm feeling, and it's tough to have this conversation, and we're able to effectively communicate about it. Cool, but once tensions get hot, now I'm like low key triggered, and I want to snap and I want to spaz, and like, okay, that's not going to help the situation because you started this conversation, so you can't be the one going off the handle because they're off the handle. You know what I'm saying? Is that making sense?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I just listened to an episode of The Path this morning, and it spoke about psychological safety.
Mm.
So, do you not feel like this is a psychological safe environment for you?
No, with you guys, I'm good, but I don't like. But when's the last time we argued, my nigga?
Yeah, but we probably should have argued.
Mm.
Probably,
Do you know
probably,
what
but
I'm
like,
saying?
I'm
Because
just
I'm
not like
hearing
I'm
like an automatic self suppression more than anything. Because if this is a safe space, and I
probably
think about the conversation we just had, you did it like 3 times. There was nothing going on in that conversation where there was tension.
right, but I don't want to argue with my friends.
Yo, but I don't think you understand what you do. Like, real time example. You that comes off as dismissive.
Then you said that, and I'm like, no, that's not what I'm
Said it,
doing, and I
but
kind of explained myself.
Mhm.
but it doesn't matter because all you're doing in your explanation is justifying why you're quiet. But the reality is nobody wants you to be quiet. Everybody wants to hear what you have to say because we value what you have to say. So
Mhm.
when you shut down like that, for me, it doesn't even make sense to have the conversation anymore. So therefore, you're not going to get certain feedback from me because I'm like, I'm not about to talk to this dude and he's just going to shut down. Like, bro, you do that shit all the time. And that is so frustrating, especially for a person like me who, like, I want to work through it. And for a person like you who prides themselves on communication, it's infuriating
Right.
when you
I
do
mean,
that.
I'm listening to you. So there's two things that happen in a moment. I'm trying to avoid the tension, and I'm also trying to get straight to the solution.
But we can't get to the solution if we don't even know your take on it.
Right. And I hear you. So you see, when we were talking, I'm like, okay, so then the plan is we're gonna go here, we're gonna go here, we're gonna do that. And they're like, no,
But
we didn't unwrap it. I get it. And that's what we were doing. But then
You know what I'm saying?
I took a step back and I listened and I followed through. But again, in that moment, I'm just like, all right, this shit is starting to.
But why does it bother you so much? Like, what about it?
It's not that. It's just it's the previous toxic conversations, and it could just be individuals I was dealing with and so on and so forth. But like the inability to have effective communication has made me feel like, go ahead.
Whose inability?
The people I'm talking to.
You know who has the inability now?
Yeah, and that's but that's why we're having this conversation, because I see that within myself.
Right. So was it those people all along, or was it you?
So no. So again, so from my experiences, I'm doing a lot of communicating and expressing my feelings, and it's not received, and then that's where the trauma kicks in, and it goes, all right, well, that's just, if I get that feeling of not being received or understood, it like I slowly crawl back into shutdown mode.
So what about our conversations you feel like you weren't understood on?
There wasn't a part of being about being misunderstood. It was more so me feeling like the tension of it, and I didn't like it.
So are you not able to have difficult conversations at all at this point in your life?
No, I am, when they're civil with the intent to understand,
bro,
and to find a solution.
I'm struggling with that because you're not going to find a more civil conversation than us three and more understanding than us three.
Right.
So my bad, go ahead.
No. So you're right. But with that, in that conversation, to Prentice's point, when he made earlier, it was like, I want y'all to be happy, and I don't want to argue with my people. You know what I'm saying? So if I can just avoid that, you got to hear me though, bro. Like, if I can just avoid having the argument and just come to an understanding, then I'm okay with that.
You realize all you did was kick the can down the road, though, because you didn't express yourself. So one would say that you weren't heard. And if you weren't heard, that means there may be things that I'm doing or Prentice is doing that's unbeknownst to us because we didn't hear from you.
No, but so I mean, I said my piece. Like, when we talked about doing the one thing at a time, I'm like, nah, like, it just feels like we're cutting ourselves short. And then we had a conversation about that. And that's, you know what I'm saying? So that like,
your shutdown came before that, though.
No, I was listening.
I'm not saying even when you shut down, you weren't listening. What I'm saying is you weren't participating.
I think my main thing, like, listening to us, you said you can have those difficult conversations when it's in a safe space, right? But this was a safe, and just hear me, this was a safe space, but there was still something in you that didn't allow you to, I guess, feel that and feel comfortable to express it. But at the same time, it's like, maybe you need to go back to those traumatic conversations and like re-break them down again. You know what I mean? Because you're referencing like conversations you had before. So I'm wondering, like, is there resolve in those conversations for you now? You know what I mean? Like, are they sitting as something that fucked your head up? And is it possible for you to go back to those conversations? And if you're in a different space now, kind of like deconstruct those conversations in a different way than you did last time, so they don't leave you with you feeling like they fucked you up. You know what I mean?
No, the conversation did, but it's still ultimately my reaction and perception to them all. That's what's the issue. And like, I was a like snap, crackle, and pop type of dude, P. Like you've met a much more reserved type of cat. So I really like. I think I'm so desperate. I so desperately don't want to be that person anymore. That I'd much rather just be like, all right, cool, than to have to snap.
Maybe you went too far on one side, but you know what I mean.
Maybe,
Like
maybe.
when I started like stepping into my confidence and being like I'm the fucking shit, like on my own without anybody else, I went too far because it's unfamiliar for me. So I found myself for a while like trying to brag about everything, make everything a competition, flex on all these niggas, fuck all these other poetry niggas. Like I was just too far on the other side because it was something that I wasn't used to. Maybe you need to still have some of that pop off in you and accept it. You know what I'm saying? Like rather than be so far on this side that it's stifling from you from expressing yourself because you don't want to be the nigga on this side so bad. You know what I mean? Like I think it's okay to have a balance and maybe you need to like, you know what I
I
mean?
I agree. I agree about the balance part because I always tell people I pride myself on being a balanced individual, but I don't.
I have two things to say.
Go ahead.
One's a question, one's a statement. This is what that therapist was talking about, the walking contradiction.
Mhm.
Just you're right for context. My question to you is it a successful conversation if the person on the other side doesn't agree with you?
Yes, if as long as they understand where I'm coming from, you don't have to agree
How
with me. Tell me you hear me.
how will they understand if you don't tell them?
I do, but what in many cases what has happened is it's met with
So
justification. It's met with
so
them getting upset.
I hear you on all of that, and all I can do is take this example. Because again, this is you talking about optimal, right, platform for us to have an engaging conversation, an understanding conversation. And I don't see all those things you're saying with this group.
Here.
So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're telling yourself a story,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? But I don't see it here. And if it's going to show up anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be here. That's my concern.
Okay. If I'm gonna say anything about that, could it be that I wasn't the one initiating the difficult conversation? Like we all needed to have the conversation, but it was spearheaded by that. So it was more so me listening to what you guys or you felt and then put my 2 cents in.
Does it
Does that
matter
mean?
if go ahead, Bill?
No, I want you to go.
Does it matter if it's the same result for you? Does it matter who initiates it if the result leads to you being reserved? You know what I'm saying? Like honestly, because it
Yeah, so
sounds a little, my nigga, a little like you're you have a you have a little bit, and I'm not saying in a way like we're not doing jump on chief. It's just a little of a rebut. It sounds like you're working yourself through the thought process, but at the same time, it sounds like you got a little kickback to this shit a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
no,
Like,
no,
does it
I'm
matter who initiates it? If the issue is if you feel like there's gonna be tension, you're gonna shut
yeah,
up and
so
go with the majority,
yeah, so I
regardless.
think I think if you bring me your problem, I'm listening to you and we can work. I'm more liable to work through it because I'm trying to I don't want to use the word appease, but I'm trying to hear you out and address your feelings. I think when I initiate the conversations, when I get like most, I guess triggered is the word. I don't even want to use that word, but like I get most discouraged and be like, you know what, let's just go ahead and get through this and you'll be all right.
Well,
They don't need to understand. Like you know what you got to do. You can work through this.
here's the reality in both scenarios. Whether you bring it to somebody or they bring it to you, you're gonna have feelings about it.
Yeah,
Correct.
Period.
yeah.
So it doesn't matter the forum. You're
Mhm.
gonna feel away. And my
Right.
concern is when you do, you don't say anything.
That's the bottom line of it. That's the whole bottom line is when you feel a way, you're not. And if you, and especially if you feel a way and then you associate feelings with tension, because that's what it sounds like. It
And
sounds like when you have a feeling, a specific type of feeling, you automatically go to tension and then you automatically go to suppressing. And I think that's where you may have to, I
and
don't
that's
know, focus some of that shit. It's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
and that's what I'm saying too, where it's like there's opposition. But because I don't agree with you or because we're on two different sides, doesn't mean we can't have a successful conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can see, and again, this is probably the most controlled group of people for a conversation of this magnitude, right? Like it's a controlled environment. Like we are not going to wild out on each other. But what I could see, if I'm your significant other and you shut down like you do today, that would fucking infuriate me. Because now you're dismissive. Whether that's your intention, whether that's a defense mechanism, that's how it comes off.
Oh shit.
I felt that way today. And we ain't in a relationship. So I can only imagine how someone would feel when you do that to them and you think that you're diffusing the situation, but you potentially could be making it worse. At least you made it worse with me.
Sarai's gonna hear
Potentially.
this shit and be like, "You do that," and this is making me realize that I do that with her.
So I think, again, from that, in that regard, like I'm more about catering to the other individual's feelings versus making sure that mine are understood. At
Well,
some
what I'm
point,
saying is that you're not.
did you not feel like I understood what you were saying in this last conversation?
I felt like you were dismissive.
Did we came to a resolve, or did we not?
Doesn't mean I don't feel like you were dismissive.
Fair.
Had you allowed yourself to express yourself?
I did. After being prompted to do so, but I did.
So here's the deal. Again, I have resolve, right? If you're with a partner, they're not going to have this resolve because it's a different level of emotion. You see what I'm saying? And that would spark into something else where it's like it doesn't need to be that.
This is a good one.
Because you're not, don't protect. I'm a grown ass man. Don't protect me. You don't know how I'm feeling to not say something or do something to protect me. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, you're causing more detriment by doing that because now I'm gonna get dismissive and now ain't shit getting resolved.
And even if you just correlate that to us three, you're not opening yourself to a new experience. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not opening yourself to what happens when you do express yourself out the gate, when you don't
Right.
suppress yourself. And that's
Because
what's going to teach you that it's okay to do it. You know what I'm saying?
instead,
Rather than being
yes,
prompted.
he's exactly right. Because instead, what you're doing is you're holding on to those past experience, like that will be the future.
I can distinctly remember one of our previous sit down conversations. I remember I was standing up. I put the laptop on my tall dresser, and I was standing.
I know
on
exactly what you're talking about. Go ahead.
But I remember like vividly expressing myself, and then I might have got a little pushback or something, and I remember myself kind of like, all right, cool, whatever, and just kind of
no. See, you were doing the same exact thing. I know exactly where I was at when we had that conversation. I was in my bed.
Yeah, but I'm saying what I remember clearly, distinctly expressing myself, and I don't know if it was met with resistance, but
I don't think you remember it as clear as you would like to, because I said, and I might have even put that shit in the email following up with this conversation. And Prentice, you may remember Prentice, this was the conversation when you were like, I don't do this for myself, and I had like the light bulb moment.
Mm-hmm.
That was the conversation. But I remember you kept walking out of the camera. And you kept like shutting down. And I specifically said, Chief, say something. I said it multiple times. Chief, say something.
I think I started the conversation though. I think I started the conversation with expressing myself. And then again, it was hit with something, and that's when I remember that. That's when I shut down. And I was pacing back. I remember that pacing back and forth.
Yeah, but that ain't got
that's where
nothing
the
to do
push is gonna
with
come.
me. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? That's something that you got to work
And
through.
that's exactly what I just said. That's prior to in the middle of this conversation.
But this is what I'm saying. When I say work through, I mean
In
express
the moment.
yourself.
In the
Yes,
moment. In the moment.
because
That's
it's
where the
doing
push is
nobody
gonna
no
come.
good,
Yup.
and it's still happening.
Mhm.
Like you still do it. You know what I'm saying? So you can say, "Well, I got to work through that," but you haven't.
It's literally the moment where whenever you're in a conversation, you're gonna feel like, nah, just say it. That's when you got to do the exact fucking opposite.
Like the elevator.
Real-
No, not Sacramento. I mean, that's not San Francisco. I'm talking about last weekend when
Oh,
you walk to the
But
elevator and walk
that's
back.
different. Ain't no tension around that. There's no
But
expected
why is there
drama or
where?
beef.
Yo, listen. There was no tension from me in that conversation that we just had an hour ago,
My
and
nigga, I'm afraid
I
of
didn't.
myself.
I didn't receive
That's
tension
what
from
it is.
Prentice. But my nigga, what I'm saying is, if you don't start talking about that shit, you're going to shut people out. That's going to be the unintended consequence of that. You're going to shut people out, and people aren't even going to bother talking to you because they're like, all you're going to do is appease me, and then they may feel like you're patronizing them, right? Like,
Sometimes people don't want to be fucking appeased, especially if they want you to open. Sometimes people have a desire, like a genuine, like a motherfucker will have a genuine desire for you to say more than you already say, or to kind of be more expressive. This is to all of us, you know what I'm saying? And some people just want more from us.
yes, and a lot of times these conversations you have in Chief, I don't doubt that you're the leader in that conversation or the alpha. And then when the alpha stops talking, it's like, what's happening?
Combo done.
Yeah, it's like nobody has an explanation. So nothing
Yeah,
gets
so
resolved.
I can just, but I'm thinking of the last couple of ones that may have seemed tense. Like you guys are a little bit more keen to who I am than these individuals. So when I had those type of conversations, what was happening was even in the middle of me shutting down, I was just trying to make sure they felt heard and they felt, comfortable and they got what they needed out of the conversation, even though if I didn't get what I needed.
Yeah, but
So
at what
it didn't.
cost?
Right,
Yeah,
right. But that's not
a
something
great
that
cost.
unbeknownst to them, that's what's going on. You got what was going on. You know what I'm
I can
saying?
promise you this, bro. You're not low. I promise you that. Yeah, I promise you. You're not low. They may not say it, but you're not low. We
But
be thinking we low.
they don't leave feeling the same way that I do.
You don't know how they're leaving.
I
And at the
don't.
same time,
But I'm doing what
you're
I'm supposed to be doing to make sure that
According to who?
I believe when I leave the conversation, they felt heard
See,
and
bro,
understood.
this is my frustration, Chief, with you. This is my frustration. There's a phrase called trust and verify, right? You're saying, "Oh, I believe this. I believe that. I know this. I know how." You felt like I left that conversation we just had with what I feel based on this logic. Oh, didn't we get to a resolution? Right? Don't mean it's resolved.
you
We got
know
to we got to a task. We didn't resolve shit. You see what I'm saying?
conversations and arguments are also grooming. It's a grooming process. Like when you allow yourself to go back and forth, whether it's positive or negative, you're grooming that other individual on certain aspects of your personality. If you're a great listener and you're willing to go back and forth, or say you're the more rational in a conversation, in a way, you're grooming that other person on how to be more of a rational conversationalist. You know what I mean? Like a more logic or the more logical person. You know what I mean? You're grooming that person when you allow yourself to rebuttal or respond to them. You're also teaching them something about your personality. So in a way, like, and this is not to you specifically, but in a way, when you have conversations with other people, it's important, I think, to see them through because you're also learning something about yourself. There may be times in those conversations when you're testing yourself. You know what I'm saying? You're doing something that's a little uncomfortable and you're building some character within yourself as well as giving them an idea of what to expect when they interact with you. You know what I mean?
Two things I'll say, and then we can move on. One, feedback's a gift, right?
Mm,
Feedback's a gift.
it's a bar.
And
That's a
if you
bar.
are shutting down, you're depriving me of that gift.
That's a whole ass bar.
And when you shut down, you're depriving yourself of me giving you that gift.
Mm.
Right. And then the last thing I'll say is my strongest relationships have been forged through tension. So you're now depriving yourself of strengthening a relationship because there's no communication or there's one-sided communication. And that's all I'll say on that.
That's fair. It's a wake up call. It's fair. We are approaching the time though, fellas. We got this thing grooving. So I would like to definitely come back to this conversation. We want to keep it, within the time so P can do his thing. So
Yeah.
based on
Also, if you listen to this, email us. Tell us your thoughts.
I
Like,
really want to know y'all thoughts.
yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Especially any psychotherapists out there. Like let us hear you. I'm curious.
all right, so let's jump right into it, fellas. Let's go with the final thoughts. I definitely want to finish this conversation, but I got a couple more questions on the sheet, but we'll get back into it. So we talking about talking. P, final thoughts, B.
I think what I
We
said.
probably had time for one more question, but
We do. We can get into another question, but like, come on, we
No,
ain't got
let's
to
get into
cut
one
back
more
60
question.
exact.
it's
Let's go.
One more question,
all right.
then final thoughts.
Yeah.
You sure? Because it's gonna
Yeah.
Positive.
be
Hurry up.
all
Ask the
right.
question.
So the question was, and it said, what would an ideal outcome look like for you after the conversation is had? Whatever your issue is, and you brought to the table, what are you hoping the end result is?
I think mine would be simple. A collective understanding of where we both went wrong, or not where we both went wrong. Whoever is bringing the conversation to the person, the for lack of a better term, the antagonist in this conversation, where they went wrong and what they could do better to avoid that in the future, um, and how to effectively communicate things that may or may not have been said. That's my, and if we're speaking in general terms, right, not a specific situation.
P?
I just want to be heard, man. Just let me know that you heard what I said. You don't have to agree. You don't have to disagree, but I do want to leave because I'm gonna try to articulate my thoughts and my feelings in a way that you get, not to force my point on you or convince you to share the same thought process that I have, but just to be heard. So I want to leave with knowing that what I said was received, because that's all I really care about when I talk to people, especially if we're going back and forth or have different perspectives. I just want to know that you were willing to receive what it is that I said and be able to take it and apply what works for you and what doesn't. But just most importantly, just listen to me. I just want to be heard.
Yeah, so I initially, that was my response to and being heard. But what I've found in many conversations that I've had was my ego needed me to be heard and agreed with.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? I need you to hear me, but I needed you to also agree with me. And I think after several conversations we've had here and revisiting some tense conversations, I learned that, and I'm I'm okay with the disagreement in it, but as much as being heard, at least let me know you understand where I'm coming from, and
Mhm.
it it would hopefully result in some change behavior. It's the only reason the conversation has been brought to the table, because I'm feeling a certain way about a certain thing and would hope that behavior has changed so that doesn't come across my plate anymore. So I think the end result for me would be a semblance, a resemblance of some sort of change behavior so that we don't have to revisit this conversation.
Here's an interesting take. Is it easier for you to agree with someone in lieu of fear of you saying how you really feel and them not agreeing with you?
Yes.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is the overarching challenge that you
Yep.
have.
Yep.
And I was just gonna say sometimes the real shift happens in sitting in the disagreement after the conversation. Like if you think about it, something well, I can think about it for me. Sometimes what I said needs to be disagreed upon, and I have to sit in the fact that they don't agree in order for me to really assess my perspective, because that oftentimes for me shifts how I think. Like, okay, they're standing on their disagreement. Let me not be so headstrong on my perspective, and let me sit back and because they don't disagree, so I didn't leave like, yeah, we all feel the same way. Let me sit back and just sit on this disagreement and see if there's anywhere within that where my train of thought or my perspective can shift.
A lot of
It's
my, a lot of
exactly
my, a lot of my, in that regard, a lot of mine, the conversation has been not necessarily, it's been, it's been impact versus intent. I think that's a lot of where my wanting to be agreed with or understood in that regard. Because I think there have
But
been there's been many times where I've said something has been taken a certain way and it was nowhere near what I meant to. But that regardless of the matter, I can't control how people perceive these things.
hmm
And I spend so much time trying to convince them that that's not what I meant versus hearing how it made them feel.
yeah,
Make sense?
it
yeah,
makes perfect sense.
the intent usually is the same. You know what I'm saying? Usually we lead with the same intent in conversations, but the impact is a variable.
Right.
Right.
And as long
Right.
as we can understand that we have a foundation of intent when we go into the conversations, but be receptive to the variable, which is the impact, that may
Well,
make things a little easier.
we have to be okay with. Guess what? We're not always right.
Yeah.
Right.
Regardless how strongly we feel about it, we're not always right.
Hence, being able
And
to sit in a disagreement.
exactly. And I'll say I hate that shit. Like I hate when somebody challenges the way I think about something because for whatever it is, I've thought about it and it made sense to me. But when somebody does challenge me, provided I can allow put my ego to the side, it does cause me to think like, okay, they're as strong, they feel as strong about the opposite of this as I feel about this. Why? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what am I missing?
Yep.
Like, what am I missing? Now, granted, it will be some tension, but then it caused me to be like, all right. Like, let me really think about this because these conversations, like, I would like to believe that these people have your best intentions in mind, right? So it's like if they're coming at me knowing how I am, there's something to be said there. Why are they so adamant about this? What
Mm-hmm.
am I missing? Like,
Mm-hmm.
where's the opportunity? And I think, Chief, that's the piece, right? Like embracing that. Like you could still be right. And it could be you convincing them, or it could be them convincing you to take a pause, a beat. Like, let's think about this for a second, right? Like that's where, like, you need those people. I talked about this before, man. We're gonna be good by ourselves, but if we're gonna be great, we're gonna need help, and that help sometimes comes in the form of disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where the magic happens, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can only see based on our circumstances, right? That's all we can see. Like we don't know what else is out there because all we can see is our circumstances. So sometimes people with other perspective come in like, nah, man, you're looking at this the wrong way. And then be like, okay. Instead of like, nah, I did my research, I did this, I did that. Nah, man, just look at it this way. That's the difference, man. That's the difference between good to great.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference right there. How well we can give and receive feedback.
Touche. Touche. I, I'm just trying to think about like the indifferences in matters of or opinion. And I think where again, like I previously said, where it boggles me is the having done something to impact the person and it not being what I intended
What do you mean?
is what really kind of overwhelms me.
What
Like
I'm not understanding.
um like the super long text message I sent you I sent you between me and Shorty a while ago. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Like I did something and it made her upset, but that wasn't nowhere near my intent. Nothing what I thought of, but the way she took it. And I spent so much time trying to justify why I did or explain what I meant versus hearing how it made her feel and recognizing that and doing something different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it isn't as much of a black and white or difference of
But
opinion. It's
that
that
was a
it's
difference
that
of opinion.
it's that feeling though.
But you were trying to get her to side with you, and you were missing the whole point of the argument.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
But when I go back to being heard though, like at least tell me you understand where I'm coming from. But there was there was zero understanding about that, which is kind of what like, damn.
Bro, that's like me saying, that's like me slapping you in the face. Like, man, you got to understand, man, I was having a bad day. Yeah, but Bell, you slapped me in my face. Nah, but you're not listening to me, Chief. I was having a bad day, bro. Like you were, she was the victim, bro. She don't got to listen to what you're saying right now because you're dismissing her as a victim. And you're saying it's all about me right now. Like she was the one impacted. Right? Like that's it. You can't do anything until you get through that. Cuz she's not hearing you because now it's like are you not hearing me? I don't give a shit how you meant it. This is what happened. Acknowledge this right now. Then we can move on to what your intentions were. But y'all couldn't get there because it's like, no, but I'm trying to help you understand. Like, that's not how I meant it. Why can't you see it? I'm just paraphrasing, but you couldn't get past, like, you couldn't get past that she would think that you would do something with malice. And you couldn't get past that. And that was the issue.
Right. And so now I look at that like in the same token, like that conversation ended with me biting the bullet and just being like, all right, cool. I heard what you said, but I still left feeling unheard.
Yeah, but bro, remember I talked about when somebody's giving you feedback, it's not your place to dispute that. It's your place to listen. Mm-hmm. And then you come back another day and talk about how you felt. Because somebody's coming to you with how they feel. They're coming to you with how you impacted them. It's not about how they impacted you at that point. The ball is in their court. So you got to hear them out. Because if you don't, then now their feelings aren't validated. Mm-hmm. It's not about you. Like you were in the wrong.
Yeah, and that's where I get twisted up because but see, I carry that same "it's not about you" mentality, and that's why it's like, okay, bite the bullet, make it about them, but then you still leave the conversation feeling unheard,
and that's you on too far on one side of that spectrum. That's where the balance comes in. You still
so there's
gotta
so for me, I bite the bullet right then and there. To Bell's point, there's no revisiting of the conversation. I heard what you said. I'll just go. I'll leave. I'll deal with feeling unheard and feeling
But
like
it doesn't sound like you agree though.
What do you mean?
Like you don't agree with her feeling of how you impacted
her. I may not.
So that's where you start. Because regardless of your intentions, this is how it impacted them, and you cannot dispute that.
I hear that, and I hear them, and eventually, what happens is, I retain all of that. I get all of that, and I pull back from expressing my portion of it because I feel like it's like there's no value in the reciprocity of the feeling, the sentiment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it's not about you right in that moment.
And that's part of the problem. Can't we say that exact same thing to the other party in the conversation?
They're the victim, bro. They're the victim. Again. I
think victim's a really aggressive word.
Okay, then give me another word. I don't know which other one to use. I slapped you. I don't want to hear. You don't want to hear why I slapped you. Like you don't want to hear my justification of slapping you. I slapped you. Like it's up to me to hear how that impacted you, not why I did it.
I think the key is you got to practice discernment. You just got to know when you got to pull back sometimes and be more of the listener, and when in certain conversations you deserve also to express yourself and be heard. Like when you're in the wrong, obviously you're more of a listener, but when you're having a back and forth conversation, I think that's when you have to allow yourself to be heard.
Yeah, and I think there's so what happens to me now is once the conversation begins to feel like I'm not being heard, I just instantly stay the listener and make sure that they're good with the results of the conversation and don't even worry about about me being good with the results of the
Yeah,
conversation,
that
if
shit
that
ain't
makes
healthy,
sense.
my nigga.
Right. But I mean, that's been my joint.
Stop doing that shit.
Yeah, I mean, why
How's
you
that
why
for some
you I
therapy?
created the treatment so we can have this conversation though, you know what I'm saying?
Nah, I think you need to have it with a professional, bro. Honest to God. And like I'm gonna text him after this. I got an idea for us. I'll tell you offline. I don't want to mention it before I text the individual, but I got an idea for us. And this person's been asking for this anyway, so I got an idea that I think will help. And it doesn't have anything to do with a therapist. So
Cool. So yeah, we over the limit now. So let's go ahead and wrap this
go ahead,
joint.
Prentice, you go first.
P, final thoughts. Hold on,
This
let
was
me
a
let
good
me
conversation. I like
let me
this
cue
one,
the
man. Again, I think discernment in conversations, being heard, learning when to fall back sometimes and when to speak up. But I think you're entitled to express how you feel in your conversations. I think it's just a matter of how you do it, when, and for how long. So you know, speak up and shit. And yeah, that's all I got.
speak up and shit.
And listen
Put
too.
that on a t-shirt.
Go ahead.
Um, hey man, here's my thought, man. Like we all got work to do. That's the bottom line. We all got work to do. We're all at different parts of our journey, but we all got work to do. Um, it's not always about us, you know. It's not always about us, and we can't deprive those around us from helping us be the best us. And we can get in the way of our growth by not allowing people to help us along the way. And we can, it goes back to fixed mindset versus growth mindset. You know, fixed mindset, nothing's going to change. A growth mindset, you're open, you're willing, you're listening, right? Understanding that there is something better. There is a better version of you that you may not have gotten to yet. So my final thought, man, is to be open, to have a growth mindset. That's in short, have a growth mindset and identify the areas where it's fixed and do your best, right? We're all work in progress, but we're going to need other people to help us be great.
For sure. For me, I think one of the biggest takeaways from this conversation, sitting down right now, I mean, obviously I took a lot of what you guys said and I'm gonna take it to heart, but I think I want to pat myself on the back right now because I recognize this in me and put it on paper so I could talk to my guys about it and get a better understanding, a better look at myself. And I think oftentimes we shy away from these difficult conversations as they pertain to yourself. And in actuality, it was good for us to have this conversation. So I recognize this, I put it out there and allowed myself an opportunity to get some genuine feedback from people I love and care about and respect. And it helps me grow and move into a better direction. So I think for those of us who see some things in yourself that you want to work on, that you don't like, that you feel need improving, get in front of some people you trust or some professionals and address these matters. And I think you should pat yourself on the back for recognizing that and actually doing something about it. The work, the work is in the work, or the progress is in the work, and the work comes with recognition. So that's my final thought. So yeah, this has been another episode of All Black Men Need Therapy. Um, we have a voice line, y'all. The voice line is 860-410-6160. Feel free to shoot us a text, give us a call. One of us will typically answer or at least text you back at minimum. We are on all social media outlets at All Black Men Need Therapy. You can hit us up at allblackmenetherapy@gmail.com. Or if you want to speak to us individually, Chief Bell or Prentice at abmnt.com. If you're a Recording Academy voting member, that's probably actually won't even matter because it'll be too late. So by the time this drops. But yeah. Do what you do, y'all. But do us all a favor and hug a black man today.
With 2 arms and say something nice to him when you do it. Do it.
And tomorrow.
I mean,
And tomorrow.
But don't put your lips near a nigga's ear when you say something when you hugging them, because that shit gets awkward. But do it.
We out, yo.
Peace.